retirement report, which you all have, has been around for 15 years. And I've been there for 7 years. And so we're celebrating an anniversary this year, and it's been a really wonderful place to work. But, it's a very tough topic, and sometimes the news isn't good, but at Kiplinger's we always try to be optimistic, and our whole goal there is to sort of provide advice, and in tough economic times to sort of provide sort of a guide through the difficult times. In my office, I have 2 New Yorker cartoons on my little bulletin board, and one is of a husband telling a wife, if we take late retirement and an early death, we'll just squeak by. And the other are 2 bums looking in a store window, and they see a sign that announces a lotto payoff of $15 million. One bum says to the other bum, winning is crucial to my retirement. I've spent a lot of time studying retirement planning, and my conclusion is this: neither plan is realistic. Retirement planning involves real planning. Forget the lotto or the early death, both before retirement and throughout. The au courant term is longevity planning. Why? We are living longer, of course. A healthy 65-year-old man has a 33% chance of living beyond 90. And a healthy woman, 65-year-old woman, has a 44% chance of living beyond 90. And for all you students out there, those percentages are going to go up real high. So, you'll need to start planning soon. I hate to tell you, when I was in my 20s or my high school years, I wasn't thinking about it either, but wish I had. So longevity planning is more challenging than ever, especially as pensions disappear and healthcare costs rise. You need to plan for a 30-year retirement or even more. One of the, I know that's, Mark was just shaking his head. It's scary. One of the questions that Mark asked me to address was, how much money do I need to retire? And Mark, sorry, I just can't answer that question. It depends. Some researchers say 10 times that you need to save 10 times of your last salary. Others say 85% of your pre-retirement salary. Some say 100%. And some retirees say they're spending more than they did before they retired. Healthcare costs is one big reason. But I think what you should do is just throw away these rules of thumb, and just get real. You can't predict what the market's going to be, and you can't predict how long you're going to live. But you can be relatively certain of what your non-discretionary expenses are going to be. So you need to so the first step in all of this retirement planning is to make a list of all your non-discretionary expenses: utilities, property taxes, food, maintenance costs, replacing the hot water heater, clothing, mortgage, or rent payments, and don't forget health care. A healthy 65-year-old, couple can expect to spend at least $250,000 over their retirement if they live to their normal life expectancy, and many people are living beyond, and you're going to have to save even more than $250,000, and that does not include long-term care. Just think about it. If you're already retired, Medicare Part B, Medigap, Medicare Part D, just those premiums alone will get you fast to $200,000. And all of those costs are going to rise with whatever plan comes out of Washington. Both the Democrats and the Republicans have proposals out there, and out-of-pocket cost for Medicare will increase. And once you come up with this number, you should take a look at all your guaranteed income streams: Social Security, pension, veterans benefits, perhaps you have an annuity. And if there's a gap, then you're going to need to fill in part of that gap with some other kind of guaranteed income. And this will provide you with a floor. And after that, you need to sort of figure out how you're going to pay for those non-essentials that make life worth living: your travel, restaurants, visiting the grandkids, hobbies, and so forth. Then you extrapolate over 30 years, figure in inflation, and a realistic investment returns. And there are a number of calculators online that will help you get into that ballpark. And I'm a really big believer in getting help from a fee-only certified financial planner. It's a very complicated world out there, and you really need the help all the help you can get, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But even more important than all of these things is structuring your portfolio so that you can withdraw what you need without running out of money before the 30 years are up. And in a few minutes, I will get to the latest research on withdrawal strategies, which I know a lot of young people don't care about at this point. They're trying to save some money, not take it out. And talk a little bit about Social Security strategies and annuities. But before I get to those topics, I'd like to talk a little about some basic tips that help you to conserve what you have and stretch your existing nest egg. And some of them are obvious. I call some of them the squeeze strategies, which is squeezing out every dollar you can from what you have. And others are what I call the SWAN strategies, SWAN, for sleep well at night strategies. First on my list is turn off the noise. Don't listen to any calls you get about investment strategies. Don't ignore those radio pitches. Sometimes Jim Cramer is right, and sometimes he's wrong. He's an entertainer. You have to be really careful. He may have some great tips, but his problem is his recommendations may not fit into your particular investment and portfolio and retirement strategy. So you have to be really careful. And I was telling Mark a little while ago about this person I spoke to not that long ago, who had $600,000 of a nest egg. And he wanted to make it bigger for his kids and for his grandchildren. So he was listening to these radio pitches about gold, gold, oh my goodness, gold is up, you can't lose with gold. And so he called one of these places, and they're all connected with each other. So he bought something, and before he knew it, he was getting all these calls from people. And he just got sucked in, and he lost his entire nest egg, everything. So just be really careful about what you're listening to out there. And back to the whole Jim Cramer thing, there's so many TV commentators. And so, this is, I know I'm a sort of religious institution here, so, but why did God create TV stock analysts? To make weather forecasters look good. So, be careful. There's also grandma's advice. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You need, this is really true with investments and retirement planning. You need to diversify over, so many different categories. Large domestic stocks, small stocks, international, investment-grade bonds, and all different sectors. There are lots of websites out there like Kiplinger.com. You could figure out what your allocation should be, whether it should be 60%, for your age and your risk tolerance, 60%, stocks, 40% bonds, whatever. There's one rule of thumb, but rules of thumb are made to be broken. You take 100, you subtract your age, so let's say you're 70, you should be 30% in stocks. But that's just a little guidepost. I had one reader tell me that she was very well diversified and told me what her portfolio was. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, US Bancorp. You get the picture. That's not diversification. That's financial. She lost a lot of money in 2008. She's doing okay now, but you don't need that whiplash of stock volatility. Diversify across various sectors. There's a good tool at Morningstar.com, X-ray, portfolio X-ray, and that could show you what your holdings are and what the overlap could be, so that you're really diversified. Another rule: what you have, what you don't have, you can't spend. Max out your 401k or your 403b and your IRA. You'll get a deduction up front, and the money will grow tax deferred. And if your spouse doesn't work, you can open a spousal IRA. Put about $6,000 if you're 50 and over, as long as you have earned income to cover the contribution. And for all you young folks out there, when you get your first job, they offer a 401k, sign up. You put 1%, maybe a little bit in at the beginning, percentage-wise, and you ratchet it up every year. And if they have an employer match, you invest up to that match. Otherwise, you're leaving free money on the table. Another rule is, if it seems too good to be true, it is. The higher the yield, the higher the risk. This goes back to the whole gold guy, okay? Steer clear of anything you don't understand. There are numerous investments. If they're not scams, they're still really risky. Untraded REITs, real estate investment trusts, private placements. There are a lot of these free lunch seminars where people, these investment guys invite you to this free lunch. Another adage, cliche, there's no free lunch, all right? So ARP has these free lunch monitors. They send older people, members, to these free lunches to see what these guys are saying. The pitch is there. You sign your name in when you get in there for your free lunch, and you put your telephone number and your address. You'll never stop hearing from them. They'll wear you down. You'll end up investing in something you really will be sorry for down the road. So, free lunch, you could listen or stay home, make a turkey sandwich, cost you maybe $1 after you're all done. So it's much cheaper than what your long-term cost could be. Work longer if you can. It's not always possible. And a lot of people who thought they were going to work longer ended up having to leave for health reasons or layoffs. But those who continue working can contribute to their savings for a few more years and reduce the number of years that their assets will have to generate income in retirement. And this is an interesting statistic. One study shows that working an additional 3 years, say from 62 to 65, and continuing to save 15% of salary could raise annual income from investments by 22%. And if you retire even later, that percentage goes up. So if you can work a couple of extra years, it surely is worth doing. Stay the course. What is a market correction? It's the day after you buy a stock. All right? You cannot time the market. People fled the market during the downturn and started getting back when things were going up. Well, guess what? That violates the basic rule of investing. You're supposed to, these folks sold low and they bought high, and that's a bad thing to do. And on the other side of staying the course, the market's going up right now, looks great. It's time to do a little rebalancing. If your goal was 60% bonds and 40% stocks, the upswing has probably gotten your allocation out of whack. Start selling off some of your profits and, maybe put them in bonds or cash or whatever, but sell off a little bit, okay? Look for savings. It's another rule. Whittle down some of your discretionary spending. Review all your credit cards. See what you can cut back. Take a little notebook around with you and write down every little bit of cash that you spend. You'll be surprised what you find. And I know this is very difficult for all those parents out there. As hard as it is, you can't be the bank of mom and dad forever. Your kids can take a loan. You cannot take a loan for retirement. So start thinking about the money you're spending for gifts. As a mother of a college kid, I know that I'm not going to take my advice for, quite a while, but it is, objective Kiplinger advice. And as far as looking for savings, Kiplinger.com has lots of stories you can find, lots of ways to save money. And one great way to save is cut your investment costs, all right? These are investment costs. The cost of mutual funds, commissions, and so forth is a real retirement destroyer. 1 percentage point difference in one mutual fund to another, 1.25% versus 0.25%, doesn't seem a lot. It's only 1 percentage point. But by cutting fees on a $300,000 portfolio, you can get an extra $45,000 of spending power over 30 years. There's so many studies on this. Another thing you should be thinking about, if you're going to invest in mutual funds, look at index funds, which track a market index, or exchange-traded funds. Study after study show that those actively managed funds do not, as a rule, outgrow index funds, and they're much cheaper. So those are some rules. And one more thing that I mentioned before: get some help. If you don't know how to do some of these things, get a few hours help from a fee-only certified financial planner, somebody who does not sell products. You don't want to go to somebody who's selling you insurance, or who might even be a stockbroker who will, make money making commissions. You want a few hours of objective advice. You pay them a few hours worth of money, and it will pay off, hopefully, in the long run. Now, those are the swan and squeeze strategies. Mark asked me another question: how much money can I safely withdraw from my investments without fear of running out of money? Excuse me. Sometimes tiring listening to myself talk this much. You might have there's a lot of new retirement research out there. You may have all heard of the 4% rule of thumb for withdrawing from your retirement portfolio. And the rule is simple. And this has been out there for like 20 years or so. Retirees who spend 4% of their initial wealth from a balanced stock and bond portfolio, adjusting the amount, the withdrawal, annually to keep pace with inflation, can be highly confident that their portfolio will survive 30 years. So you have $1 million portfolio, 4% is $40,000. The next year, let's say inflation's 3%, you withdraw $41,200, and so forth. But researchers saying it doesn't work. It's really a bad idea. And a couple of reasons. For one thing, there's been so much volatility in the stock market over the past number of years. So let's just say you had $1 million portfolio in 2007. You took out the $40,000 the first year, and then the second year, $41,200, and then all of a sudden your portfolio is down to $800,000 or $700,000 because of the downturn. You're still under this 4% rule, adjusting for inflation, which could be, $43,000, which you're taking out of a shrunken portfolio. So it's really not working much anymore. And the other thing that's really changing things for researchers now are the interest rates for bonds as well. Most of the research in the past on the 4% rule was based on long-term average returns for stocks and bonds, and now, as we know, for quite a while, today's bond yields are anything but average, less than 1%, and sometimes 1% for intermediate-term government bonds, about 0% for 10-year treasuries. So this is a big negative effect for those who rely on the 4% rule. So there was a big study recently, a number of studies recently, a bunch of researchers who are coming up with drawdown strategies that using a model that reflects today's expectations for future stock and bond returns. And the news is not good for this 4% rule. For a portfolio that is 40% stocks and 60% bonds, the 4% rule has just a 48% chance of success over a 30-year period. 48%. This has been the rule of thumb that's been around for quite a while. People are still using it. And a retiree who wants a 90% chance of having his or her money last for 30 years would have to dial back a withdrawal rate to 2.8%. That's not a lot of money. Now, of course, they're saying bond yields are not going to be this low forever, but their research has taken this into consideration as well. So there are several newer strategies that people are recommending, and what they all have in common is something I mentioned earlier. They match your essential retirement expenses with your guaranteed income sources. So instead of just taking money out, whether you need it or not, or if you need, more for your expenses, you can't do it because you're in the 4% rule and you have a chance of depleting your portfolio earlier than you hoped. They want you to look at your essential expenses and match your income to that. And these strategies give you some real predictability. And one way to boost your income source is to delay taking Social Security. I'll get to that in a second. But a number of researchers believe that retirees who find that their guaranteed income sources won't cover basic expenses should consider immediate annuities to fill the gap. And with an immediate annuity, you figure out how much you need to spend each month for life, and you plunk down a lump sum premium. And one prominent researcher went looking for the best portfolio for retirees to meet goals while preserving a percentage of retirement assets at death. He factored in the low yield environment, and he found the best outcome is sort of counterintuitive. He didn't even go for the bonds. He felt that a portfolio of stocks and single premium immediate annuities would be the best situation for a 65-year-old couple. So let's just take the 65-year-old couple. He found the couple could meet 94% of lifetime spending needs and have nearly 60% of their initial retirement balance remaining at death, a legacy for the kids and grandkids, if they use an asset allocation of 50% stocks and 50% immediate annuities. And they did a lot worse with the 50% stocks and bonds. He found that the bonds would be depleted, but that the annuities would continue to make the payment. So yes, interest rates are low. It may not be time to buy immediate annuities, but his feeling is interest rates are low for everything. It's a bad time to buy everything. He likes this immediate annuity approach, stocks and immediate annuities. I'm not advocating it, but that's what one researcher shows, because you use the immediate annuity money to match your expenses as opposed to having unpredictable income over the next 20 to 30 years. Another researcher likes the bonds, okay, but he felt 20% stocks and about 65% bonds, and he was able to match up the bond outlays with expenses. So what they do with this is that when you figure out what your non-discretionary expenses are, that is the floor that you want to cover with predictable income. So in this research, he was looking at bond payouts over 30 years. First your short-term bonds, then your long-term bonds, going in to pay for your predicted expenses. Your stocks would grow over a period of time. And then when you're 85 years old, you have 15% of your income, of your retirement nest egg there, and you use that to buy an annuity that will get you through the rest of your life. So it's all providing income for your floor expenses, those non-discretionary, predictable expenses. And yet another strategy along the same line, and then we'll move on to Social Security, is called the bucket strategy. I don't know if you've heard of the bucket strategy. You basically divide your nest egg into a number of buckets. It could be 3 buckets, it could be 5 buckets. Some financial planners have 10 buckets. It gets complicated. Can be very fancy. And so you have a bucket for the first few, 3 to 5 years of your retirement. That's cash, CDs, something that you can, gain access to pretty quickly. Your next bucket may be shorter-term bonds. The next bucket may be longer-term bonds. The bucket down the road might be high-growth stocks. And so what the whole idea is, if you could picture the stock bucket, the second bucket pouring into the cash bucket, the third bucket pouring into the second bucket, the growth bucket, so you're always replenishing your buckets over a period of time. Sounds difficult. It isn't that difficult if, you spend a little time thinking about it. You might want to get some help trying to set up your buckets. And then you will have that predictable income in those early years when you really need it. And the whole idea is you let the stocks grow over the long term. So you don't have to worry about whether the stock market is up or the stock market is down. You have that money early on. You know what your payouts are going to be in your short-term bonds and your longer-term bonds, and each of those things are replenishing each other. And if there's a decline in your bond holdings in the second bucket, the combination of periodic profit-taking, rebalancing adjustments, and portfolio growth should be enough to cover expenses for another 5 years. We ran a really good story on this 2 years ago. It's on the Kiplinger.com website. It's called A Strategy for a Lifetime of Income. It's by one of our writers, Eleanor Lays. So if you want more information on the bucket strategy, that's where you could find it. But no matter how you build your floor, whether it's from bond funds, like we talked about, immediate annuities, pensions, Social Security, or all of the above, this will help you ease anxiety, with the markets going up and down, and that's what you need, predictability. So that's some of these withdrawal strategies. I know it's a lot to throw at you, but I hope there's that theme there. Now I'd like to talk to you about Social Security. Most people are collecting at the age of 62. It's a big mistake. In most cases, it's a big mistake. There are 3 reasons that you should collect early. You really need the money, and if you need the money, take it. You're single and you think you're going to die in your 60s or your 70s, take it. Or you're the lower earner in a married couple, and the spouse, the higher earner, is going to delay until 70. So you might as well just take that early, and I'll explain to you in a second. Until recently, the conventional wisdom was this: total lifetime benefits for someone with average life expectancy would be the same whether you claimed early at 62 or 70, so that all your total benefits over time, they called it the break-even age, would be the same if you lived to the average life, whether you claimed at 62 or 70. So what you had to think about was, am I going to die before I reach the sort of break-even age at 76, 78, when it all sort of adds up together, average life expectancy. But that's no longer the case for singles. And it's never really been the case for married couples. And a growing body of research shows that even when someone's life expectancy or lifespan is shorter than average, it may pay to delay at least a couple of years past 62. You have to understand that Social Security is one of the best sources of guaranteed inflation adjustment lifetime income around. On average, your benefit grows 7% a year from 62 to 70. That does not even include cost of living adjustments. You're not going to find an annuity out there like that. Believe me. And with interest rates on long-term bonds, 0%, you are getting a considerably higher return on your benefit than you would get from a commercial annuity on the market or any other really safe investment. A lot of people say, well, I'll take it early at 62 and invest it. Well, those who did it in 2007, that was not really a great idea, and it's never really a great idea. We've done stories that show that over time, you're really losing out. So you could boost your income, lifetime income, by tens of thousands of dollars if you claim at the right time. You may have learned a lot about, read a lot about claiming strategies out there, secret strategies to boost your Social Security income. And as far as I could tell, Kiplinger's retirement report was the first one to really write about these, the first news organization to write about these strategies, and it was picked up. First, let me give you the basics. A lot of you probably know what they are. 66 is the full retirement age, because I wanted to talk about the basics before I got into some of these secret fund strategies. For me, they're fun. I know a lot of people are like, well, you really have some life, Susan. I mean, Social Security strategies being fun, and annuities, but that's my life. 66 is the full retirement age for people born between 1943 and 1955. It's going to increase gradually to 67. for people who were born 1960 or later, but we're going to stick to 66, otherwise it's just too confusing. You could begin your benefits as early as 62, but they'll be reduced by 25% for life if you claim at that age. And for every month you claim before 66, it'll be reduced by a certain percentage point. If you wait beyond 66, you get an extra 8% delayed retirement credit for each year you delay, plus cost of living adjustments. That's 132% of your full benefit. It's a lot of extra money. So let me give you a statistic for a single person who gets a full retirement benefit of $1,500 would get $317,000 at 62 over her life if she claims at 62. Would get $380,000 if she claimed at 70. This is basic, today's dollars. If she lived to average life expectancy. So it's worth it, that's 18% more, it's worth for a single to delay. For married couples, there are even better benefits for coordinating your benefits. The lower earning spouse, let's say the wife, can claim a benefit based on her own record, or she can claim a spousal benefit as long as the higher earner has started to collect his own benefit. If the lower earner waits until full retirement age, if the lower earner waits until full retirement age to collect, her benefit will be half of her husband's benefit. If she claims earlier, it'll be reduced a little bit. But no matter when she collects her spousal benefit, her survivor benefit will always be 100% of the higher earner's benefit. So, married couples have two goals. One is to maximize their joint lifetime income by coordinating their start dates. And the second goal is to create the largest possible benefit for the surviving spouse, who is usually the wife. And I'm sorry, women usually live longer than their husbands, but you have to sort of make those calculations based on those, that reality. So sometimes it makes sense for the wife, if she has a low benefit, to claim at 62, and for the husband to wait until 69 or 70, because she'll be bringing money into the household, and her low benefit will be temporary, because eventually her husband, if everybody lives to average life expectancy, will die before she does, and she will step up to that higher survivor benefit. And here's another rule of thumb based on really good recent research for married couples. If just one spouse is expected to live beyond age 80, the couple's cumulative lifetime benefits will usually be the highest if the higher earner delays claiming benefits until 70. That's a really important, they've done a lot of research that shows this. So let me go over a couple of fun, smart strategies here. One is to maximize your benefits. One is called restricting a claim. So husband's 66, full retirement age. He's entitled to $2,000 a month. He wants to wait till 70 when he would collect $2,640. His wife is 62. She's entitled to $1,000 a month at 66. So they decide that the wife will claim her benefit at 62. It's reduced by 25% to $750. So what he does is he restricts his benefit to a spousal benefit. Even though he's entitled to a bigger benefit based on his own earnings at that time, he still wants to delay till 70 because he wants to give her a higher survivor benefit after he dies. So he claims a spousal benefit based on her lower benefit. So she's getting her benefit, he's getting a spousal benefit. He waits till 70 to claim his bigger benefit. She then steps up later on to a bigger spousal benefit. When he dies, she gets this bigger benefit. This is a rule, and I cannot tell you how often the Social Security Administration doesn't know about this. And we have had to help reader after reader get through this and sort of deal with the Social Security Administration. Because Social Security Administration will say, whoa, you can't claim a spousal benefit because your benefit's bigger, and our job is to get you the biggest benefit possible. But if you're full retirement age, you're allowed to do this. So if you ever decide you want to and you're having trouble, give me a call. I'll help you through it. Another strategy is called file and suspend. The wife is 62. The husband's full retirement age, 66. She has little or no work history. So they decide she should claim a spousal benefit based on the husband's record. But this is a problem. He wants to wait till 70. But she wants to claim, but they want her to claim a spousal benefit. He can, but she cannot claim a benefit until he files for his. So, as long as he's full retirement age, he can file for his own benefit and then suspend it. And then she could file for a spousal benefit. He's no longer getting his benefit. He suspended it, but she can continue getting the spousal benefit because he's filed for his own, even though he's suspended it. So then he could wait till 70, get that bigger survivor benefit for her, and have longer cumulative lifetime benefits for the household. There are a couple of more strategies. I know we're running out of time, but I want to say something for those of you who may be divorced or may know somebody who's divorced. There is a silver lining here when it comes to Social Security. Things may not have been good, but hey, you can get something from your ex-spouse, for the rest of your life, and it's a good thing, okay? You can collect, if you've been married for 10 years, you can collect a spousal benefit. If you're not currently married, you can collect a spousal benefit, let's say, of your ex-husband's record. As long as he is 62, even if he hasn't claimed, you can collect a spousal benefit. He doesn't have to know. That you'll have to wait 2 years if he's eligible, but has not claimed yet. And if you have two ex-spouses that you've been married to for 10 years, you can figure out, hey, which is my best deal? And if one of them dies, you can then claim a survivor benefit, unless the first guy's spousal benefit is higher. So there are a lot of things that you can do with that. And if you get married, and the nice thing about the survivor benefit is that if you remarry after the age of 60, 50 if you're disabled, you can continue to receive the survivor benefit from your ex. And you could keep that survivor benefit unless your own benefit or your current spouse's, or your spousal benefit from your current spouse is higher. So, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Might have not been a happy time in your life, but, sometimes there's a payoff. Now, if you have a minor child, if you're eligible for Social Security benefits, and you have a kid who's under 18, or until high school, you can collect 50% of your child. You can collect 50% of for your child as well, as long as you're claiming Social Security. That happened in my situation. My husband was claiming Social Security. My daughter is now in first year in college, but for several years we were collecting 50% of my husband's benefit, his full retirement benefit for her, put into a college account. It was great. So if you have their older parents around, that's an option. I have a whole thing on annuities. I don't know if my time is running out, or if I should continue. I know it's a lot to take, a lot of detail to take. Annuities, complicated. Should I get an annuity? Should I not get an annuity? I give my money over, I'll never get it back, and what if I die tomorrow? But there are a lot of things to consider with annuities. There are a number of different types of annuities. One is an immediate annuity. We talked about that earlier. Another is variable deferred annuity. Another is fixed deferred annuity. And then there's this thing called longevity insurance. And let me, I know I mean to talk briefly, but I don't. But I will try my best, okay? So with an immediate fixed annuity, the ones we were talking about before, these are people who are concerned. All these annuities are for people who are concerned that their benefits, that their portfolios will not last a lifetime. And an immediate annuity is a really cheap, sort of a cheap way to create your own pension paycheck. You invest in this after you retire, perhaps when you're 60 or 70, and it's sort of fill in the gap where you don't think that your portfolio is going to, pay for all your expenses over your life. But you don't need this if you have a big portfolio. Or if you have, there's no point in buying an annuity. If you have a big portfolio that you're going to be able to draw on and you feel pretty good about it. And you don't really need it if you already have 80% of guaranteed income. Let's say you have all your expenses, or you have a Social Security, pension, and so forth, and it covers 80% of your fixed expenses. There's really no need to get an annuity. I won't go into another study, but there's at least a number of studies that show that an annuity will stretch your nest egg over a long period of time, and that you'll get more in income, total income, by having an annuity if you live to average life expectancy. So do this if you're relatively healthy and you think you're going to live a long time. Don't put all your money into it. If you could do the joint life with your two spouses. It will cost a little bit more money, but don't do a joint life if you think one of the spouses is going to die pretty soon. Because there's no point in paying that extra money. You're going to be getting about a 6.2%. A 65-year-old woman will be getting about if she needs $1,000 a month for life, she'll invest $193,000 and get a 6.2% payout on the initial premium. It's higher than other low-risk investments, but as I said, you don't get your money back for this. So that is a big problem. You could buy an inflation rider. There's no point. It's going to lower your payout. So what's the point of getting an annuity if you don't get a big enough payout? But one thing you can do to sort of get that sort of little boost is to ladder your annuities. Maybe you have $100,000. You'll pay it up for an annuity. Take $20,000 one year, 20 the next, 20 next, 20 next, and each year that you invest, maybe the interest rates will get a little higher because the interest rates are very low right now. And not only will the interest rates maybe be higher, but because you're older and the insurance company's not going to have figures that won't have to pay you, have to pay you for one less year, you can get a bigger payout for that too. So it may be worth laddering your annuities. Another type of annuity are variable deferred annuities. There are a lot of these products out there. They're really, really complicated. And I could explain why. I know we're running out of time here. Payment options vary. Investment options vary. The fees are high. They're very complicated. A lot of the companies are getting out of the business now. A lot of people are not buying these because the payouts have dropped over time. And what happened a number of years ago, the payouts were great, and people rushed into it. And now the companies started not only ratcheting down the payoffs on the newer products, but they're going to people, and maybe you have one of these variable deferred annuities that you got when it was a great deal. Now these companies are going to owners, holders of these annuities, and saying, have I got a deal for you? I will buy back your annuity, and I will give you this pot of money. It's a bad deal. They don't want to have to pay these huge amounts out over a long period of time. Now these products are not paying out very well. There are, if anybody's still interested, there are a couple of products out there the average fees for this are 3.5% of every single year on your investment. That's a huge chunk of money being taken out of these annuities. There are a few that are much cheaper and simpler. One is offered by Vanguard, another by Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, and Schwab are offering much cheaper deferred annuities, variable annuities. I have many more details about this, but I know that we're running out of time here. And the deferred annuities are for people who are not yet retired. You buy it in your 50s, 5 to 10 years before you retire. It grows over a period of time. So by the time you retire, you can start pulling the money out of it. So it's for people who are a little concerned that their nest egg may drop just before it reaches retirement, and they want to have some guaranteed income coming in. But as I said, the variable deferred annuities, and let me just say, the reason it's called variable is that it goes up and down based on your investments. You have a pot of investment that you put your money in, and so it could go up It doesn't usually come down, but you will not have a sort of a really set payout over time, so it's very hard to plan around these. And there are also these days some really interesting products that I sort of like. They are deferred fixed annuities. So you put a pot of money in, unlike the immediate annuities, where you take the money out immediately. These are 5 years down the road. It'll be a fixed payout. So you know every month you will be getting a certain amount of income every month, and it'll be a bigger amount of money than if you bought an immediate fixed annuity. So these are deferred fixed annuities. And there are a couple out there. New York Life has a guaranteed future income annuity. It's a very interesting product. It's a simple product, and it's not that expensive. So that might be something to consider. There are a number of these deferred fixed annuities out there. And you need to really take a look. If you buy an annuity, you need, some of these prospectuses are 75 pages long. They're really confusing. So either you find a planner, somebody who will help you work through this, or you sit there with you spend a couple of weekends and you get a couple of these different prospectuses, and you go through line by line so that you know what you're buying. It's really important. Any product that you buy, you need to understand it. You need to know how the guarantee works. You need to know how the payout works. So another product I'm not going to get into, but let me just say a couple of things about Washington, what's going on out there with Medicare, just very briefly. You've all heard about all of these things. No matter what happens, out-of-pocket costs are going to increase over time. Obama and some of the Democrats and the Republicans are talking about, right now you have a Part A deductible, Part B deductible. They're talking about combining into one deductible. So this will increase out-of-pocket costs if this goes through for people who use a lot of outpatient services, because that Part B outpatient service premium is much lower than the hospital Part A premium. So if this goes through, expect your out-of-pocket costs for Part B to go up, and this will probably eliminate the need for Medigap policies. Second thing, for higher income folks, those of you who have individual income of more than single income of $85,000 and $170,000 for joint filers are already probably paying an income-related premium that's higher than the average 99, your basic 99 premium. A lot more people are going to be paying that income-related premium. There's a proposal on the table, again, Obama, that he wants to have, right now about 5% of people pay this higher income-related premium. He wants to freeze those income thresholds where they are right now so that 25% of people will be paying these higher premiums for Part B and Part D. And of course, the Republicans are talking about premium support. Some people call it a voucher. This will be, instead of you paying your $99 or your income-related premium for Part B, you'll get a voucher, you'll get some subsidy, and you're going to go out there in the marketplace, and you're going to buy a private Medicare plan. If you like private insurance out there the way things are right now, you'll love this plan. Maybe it'll be great, but there are a lot of healthcare economists who are concerned that the premium will not increase, the support will not increase at the same rate that healthcare costs will increase. So it's a changing world out there. Healthcare costs are going to rise, and it's a little scary time. But if you really plan and really take some time thinking about this, you'll be okay. I hope this wasn't too much, but I hope there was some little nuggets here that might be helpful for you. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.